Welcome to the deep dive. We're all kind of on this journey, aren't we? Always looking for ways to improve, maybe find that insight or that little tweak, or sometimes even a massive overhaul just to make life a bit better, hopefully a lot better. But, there's just so much information out there, right? So many paths, promising transformation. How do you even, start sorting through it all?
Well, that's exactly what we're trying to do in this deep dive. We've pulled together a whole stack of sources, expert reviews, news coverage, tons of user testimonials, and they all seem to point towards five specific books. Books consistently called life-changing in the self-improvement world. So our goal here is really to pull out the biggest nuggets of knowledge from each one, give you a shortcut, basically, to understanding why these books hit home for so many people.
Yeah, and what's fascinating, really, is how these books, even though they focus on different things, some are about tiny habits, others big mindsets, they kind of offer these pathways to significant personal growth. We'll dig into what makes each one resonate so deeply. Okay, let's do it. Let's unpack this first one. It seems to be, at the very top of almost every list, Atomic Habits by James Clear. The success of this book is just incredible. It's been on bestseller lists for, over 164 weeks in the U.S., huge on Amazon, often called the self-help book of the decade.
Yeah.
So what's the magic here? What makes it so impactful?
Well, I think the core concept that really grabs people is this idea of compounding, just getting 1% better each day. It sounds small, but Clear shows how it leads to, remarkable long-term results. It really shifts the focus away from just relying on motivation, which we all know fades, right?
Right.
And puts it onto building robust systems instead, making good habits almost automatic. And he breaks it down into these habit loops, the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward. Understanding that cycle is key.
Right. The cue triggers the craving, which leads to the action, the response, and then you get the reward.
Exactly. And once you see that loop, you can start to, hack it. Make the cues for good habits obvious, make the reward satisfying.
And it gives you really practical tools, too, like habit stacking, linking a new habit to an existing one, or the 2-minute rule, just starting with something super small. And environment design, which you touched on earlier.
Yeah, environment design is huge in this book. The idea that your surroundings shape your behavior more than you think.
We saw some user feedback. Someone on Reddit said, reading Atomic Habits changed everything. I learned how to design my environment, stack habits. It completely changed my life. Pretty powerful stuff.
It really is. Now, some critics do say, well, isn't this just obvious stuff? Small changes add up, make things easy. But I think the power is in the systemization. It's seeing how much your environment dictates things. It might feel obvious intellectually, but seeing it laid out systematically can be genuinely eye-opening.
Yeah, making the obvious actionable.
Precisely. So who's it best for? I'd say anyone looking for really practical, almost science-backed methods to build good habits, break bad ones. If you want to build systems rather than just hope for motivation to strike, this is definitely a great starting point.
Okay, so that's the power of micro changes. Tiny habits. But moving from that to maybe a more holistic framework, this is where it gets really interesting, right? The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. This one's a classic, an enduring legacy. Time magazine called it one of the 25 most influential business books. Sold, over 20 million copies globally? It's huge.
It really is. And Covey's angle is quite different. He's talking about enduring character ethics, not just, personality tricks or quick fixes. It's about building a foundation, a framework for developing real independence first, and then improving how you interact with others' interdependence.
So it's deeper than just tips and tricks.
Much deeper. He lays out these 7 habits, and they really build on each other. It starts with be proactive, which isn't just about taking initiative. It's about realizing you are responsible. You choose your response to things. You're not just a product of your circumstances.
Okay, taking ownership.
Exactly. Then begin with the end in mind, knowing your values, your destination. Put first things first, focusing on priorities, not just urgent tasks. Then you move into the interdependent habits. Think win-win, seek first to understand, then to be understood, and synergize. That's creative cooperation.
And the last one. Sharpen the saw.
Ah, yes, sharpen the saw. That's crucial. It's about continuous renewal, taking care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, and socially, emotionally. It's the habit that makes all the others possible long term.
Wow. Okay, so if Atomic Habits gives you the daily tools, this sounds more like the architectural plan for your life, a whole new way of operating.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, it's best for those who really want that comprehensive, holistic framework. People looking to build independence, improve relationships deeply, and set themselves up for sustained growth.
Got it. Okay, next up, a completely different vibe, but another absolute classic, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Its staying power is kind of amazing, right? Published way back in 1936. Over 30 million copies sold. Still taught in leadership courses. Time ranked at number 19 on their list of 100 most influential nonfiction books back in 2011.
It's incredible.
Some of the advice, though, you read it and think, okay, smile, remember names. It sounds almost simple, maybe even a bit quaint today.
Chuckle slightly.
But
Didn't seem that way on the surface, yeah. But honestly, that's its genius. These principles are foundational. Things like showing genuine interest in others. Not fake interest, but real curiosity. Remembering someone's name, it's simple, but it makes people feel seen, you know?
Yeah, it really does.
And listening first. Communicating in terms of the other person's interests, not just your own. Using encouragement, positive reinforcement. It sounds basic, but how often do we actually do it consistently?
It's a good point. We probably don't.
And this raises a really interesting question, especially for you listening. In our super fast-paced, often digital world, how can these principles from 1936 still be so incredibly relevant? I think it's because the core of human connection, what makes us tick, hasn't fundamentally changed that much. We still want to feel valued, understood, appreciated.
Right. The technology changes, the methods change, but the underlying human needs, they stay the same.
Exactly. So this book, it's fantastic for anyone wanting to build better social skills, maybe develop more charisma, improve their leadership presence.
Or just have better relationships, generally, personally, and professionally, mastering that art of human interaction.
Precisely.
Okay, shifting gears again. We've done habits, character, relationships. Now let's talk ambition, mindset. Let's dive into Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Another oldie but a goodie, right? 1937, a cornerstone of financial self-help and mindset literature. Shaped generations of entrepreneurs. Didn't it come from advice from Andrew Carnegie himself?
That's the story, yeah. Hill spent years interviewing successful people, supposedly starting with the challenge from Carnegie. And the themes in the book, they're really powerful. It's all about cultivating a success mindset. It talks about having a burning desire for your goal, real intense desire, then building unwavering faith in your ability to achieve it. Using autosuggestion, basically programming your subconscious mind with positive affirmations and visualizations.
Okay, so really working on the internal state.
Absolutely. And acquiring specialized knowledge relevant to your goal. Plus, he really emphasizes the power of mastermind groups collaborating with like-minded people. And maybe above all, persistence, just refusing to quit.
That persistent theme comes up a lot, doesn't it?
It does, because it's often the differentiator. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Hill's work is really about harnessing all your inner resources, your thoughts, your focus, your subconscious, and aiming them like a laser at what you want to achieve.
Creating that internal environment that breeds external success.
You got it. So this one is really geared towards cultivating that wealth mindset, which doesn't just mean money, but abundance in achieving goals.
Right. Goal clarity, mental discipline.
Mm-hmm.
It's for the ambitious, the entrepreneurs, anyone wanting to really unlock their potential for, well, significant achievement.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, finally, number 5. A book that really shook things up with a wonderfully bold, counterintuitive approach. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Feck by Mark Manson. This one really struck a chord. Huge reach. Over 20 million copies sold by mid-2024. And really high ratings, 4.5 stars from over 150,000 reviewers. That's massive engagement.
It really is. And I think its appeal comes from its refreshing perspective. It's kind of an antidote to that relentless, toxic positivity we sometimes see. Manson's whole thing is about prioritizing. It's not about not caring. It's about choosing very carefully what you give your energy, your fecks to.
So deciding what truly matters and letting the rest go.
Exactly. And embracing the fact that life involves struggle. It's about confronting limitations, flaws, difficulties with honesty, accepting that negative experiences are part of life, and choosing which problems you want to solve, which struggles are meaningful to you.
That's a powerful idea. That struggle gives life meaning, rather than trying to be happy-clappy all the time.
It really resonates with people, I think. It feels more real. It argues that constantly chasing positive feelings is actually a negative experience, while accepting negative experiences can be a positive one. It's quite a flip.
So this book seems perfect for readers who are maybe tired of the usual self-help platitudes. People who want something candid, no nonsense. A guide to living more authentically by focusing on what actually provides value and meaning in their own life.
Yeah, cutting through the noise. That's a good way to put it.
Okay, so we've unpacked 5 really different, really impactful books.
Mm.
Atomic Habits, 7 Habits, How to Win Friends, Think and Grow Rich, and The Subtle Art.
Hmm.
When you put them all together, what's the big takeaway? What does this whole collection tell us about, the path to self-improvement?
Well, connecting it all, you actually see a surprisingly structured journey emerge. It's almost like a curriculum for personal growth. You start with the micro level, building foundational habits with atomic habits. Then you build the character structure, the life operating system, with 7 habits.
Right.
Then you enhance your ability to connect and influence with Carnegie's principles in How to Win Friends. You cultivate the mindset for ambition and achievement with Think and Grow Rich. And finally, you tie it all together by aligning with your core values, choosing what truly matters, finding authenticity with Manson's Subtle Art. It covers the whole spectrum.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's interesting. You see major media outlets, New York Post, Times of India, Self Magazine, they consistently feature these specific titles in their roundups, too. It really reinforces that these aren't just niche books. They have broad, recognized impact.
Absolutely. And based on the sources, there's almost a suggested progression if you're wondering where to start. Begin with Atomic Habits for those quick wins, those practical daily changes. Then maybe broaden your perspective with 7 Habits for that deeper character-based stuff. Sharpen your people skills with How to Win Friends. Boost your drive and mindset with Think and Grow Rich. And then use the Subtle Art to help you filter it all through your own values, figure out what success and effectiveness actually mean for you.
What an incredible deep dive. It really feels like these 5 books together map out a powerful journey. You're building habits, character, relationships, mindset, and finally clarifying what it's all for your values. And I guess the key message from all our sources today boils down to dive in, take what resonates with you, and most importantly, apply it. Real change happens through action right now.
Couldn't agree more. And that actually leads to a final thought, a question maybe for you, our listener, to mull over. We've seen these different paths, tiny habits, big principles, mindset shifts, value clarification. Now, think about Mark Manson's idea of embracing struggle. How might leaning into the inherent difficulty, the struggle involved in applying any of these other books' principles, whether it's building a new habit or changing a core belief, how might embracing that struggle actually accelerate the very growth and benefits that all these books promise? Something to think about.